Hello, YouTube. This is Fred from the Roaming Souls. This is a overview of our epic camping vacation to Alaska. As you can see, we made a large loop throughout the United States up through Canada. We tried to not duplicate on the way back. There were a few sections of road that we ran both ways, but most of the time it was a new experience on each section of the travel. We started northeast of Atlanta, our home base. We took a slight detour south. We went to Auburn, Alabama to attend my granddaughter's graduation from the University of Alabama. Roll Tide. No, better not say that. War Eagle. You know it. War Eagle. Just teasing. We drove north from there, pretty much staying on the highway. We stayed at a Cracker Barrel north of Nashville, just as a overnighter. A lot of people don't like doing that, but we've had good success doing that. We normally go in and have breakfast there the next morning, and we ask ahead of time if we can stay, and they've always been very gracious. We drove then to Morton, Illinois, see my sister. Stayed in the Cracker Barrel there. There's no good handy campgrounds close to Morton. And then we went to Iowa to visit my other sister and her family. And we stayed at Scott County Campgrounds there. Nice little campground on a lake out in the boondocks. Really nice, really nice. From Iowa, we drove pretty much west and north. We went to a little place just north of well, actually just south of the Minnesota line. It's a little buffalo farm there. Trying to think of the name of it. Little Swan Lake. There it is. Proprietor is very nice. It's a Harvest Host. We just spent the night there. Had a little of their wine and some of their buffalo jerky. A great time. From Little Swan Lake, we went almost straight west. We ended up over toward the Badlands. We did spend a quickie night, and then we moved into the campground actually within the Badlands and spent several days exploring the Badlands. And from there we went pretty much west and northwest, I guess, and all the way up. As you can see, we're taking longer days now on the highway. We stayed in Columbus. I believe that was Montana. From Columbus, Montana, we headed up towards, let's see where we're at. We headed north to Great Falls, getting ready to get provisions on our way north to go through into Canada. And we stopped the first time in Canada in Colesdale, nice little community campground. Pretty small, but it had all the amenities, and it was a nice place. And there again, we stopped there in Lethbridge and provisioned, I think it was a Walmart. We proceeded northwest through Calgary and on to our first real national park that we were going to see is Banff. We stayed in a little city campground, Golden. Highly recommend it. It wasn't a long drive, and it gave us several days from a base point there to explore this whole area. After exploring that area, one of the nicest drives was we took the Icefields Parkway up north towards Jasper National Park, and we stayed in a little town called Hinton. Actually, pretty neat there. We actually had a chance to get a couple of things on Amazon overnight that we'd missed out on, and they came into their little post office the next day. Pretty amazing that out in the middle of no place you can get a Amazon next day delivery. Leaving Hinton, we went up to Purdon Lake Provincial Park. Beautiful area. Another beautiful drive. At this point, we made a choice to reverse our itinerary because we were heading north up through Fort Nelson, but there were forest fires up there. The road was closed. So we had to reverse that part of our route. From the Hinton area, like I said, we reversed our route and headed over to Houston, British Columbia. From Houston, we're actually on the Elkhorn Highway now, heading up north toward Alaska. And we dropped off at the Mezzanine Junction and went to Stewart, which right across the border into Alaska is Hyder. Not much to see at Hyder. The only reason for going there for us was to go up and drive up to the Salmon Glacier, and that was beautiful. Quite a drive, 4-wheel drive, muddy roads, still snow on the ground, but it was beautiful. From Hyder, we came out, went up the Cashier Cutoff there, and stayed at Dease Lake all the way up. We moved up to Watson Lake. That's when we connected into our Alaska Highway again. We then went across toward Alaska into Munch Lake. We're now heading into the Yukon territories. We were heading from Whitehorse. We went through Whitehorse, did a little provisioning there, and up to Dawson City. It's almost right on the line with Alaska. That's where you start the top of the World Highway. Spent night at the Dawson City campground right in town there, right close to the ferry. That's the only way you can get on the top of the world is to go across the ferry. And we took that across, and there's just no words to describe that drive. I mean, man, you are in the clouds on the side of a mountain road with snow. And we took that across to Chicken and then down and stayed at Tok. Actually, we ended up staying there twice, once on the way in and once on the way out. Nice, friendly people. From Tok, we headed south to Glen Ellen. That's a intersection on the way into Valdez. A lot of nice campgrounds there. We stayed right on the river. And then we did drive down into Valdez, had lunch there, a nice little cafe on the waterfront. Beautiful drive. This is one of the most scenic drives you can have here. You really don't want to miss that. We drove that since it was basically one way. We either took a ferry across or we came back, and we decided we wanted to see it going both ways. So it was beautiful. From Glen Ellen, we drove almost straight west. Another beautiful road and beautiful views, glaciers everywhere. And we stayed in Palmer on a little lake there. And it's very handy to Wasilla. We were able to do some reprovisioning, etc. right there. From Palmer, we took a lot of day trips in this area and backtracking several times over the same roads, but still beautiful views. We did make a trip to Whittier through the one-way tunnel. That's an experience you have to take. And then from there, we drove down to Seward, where we stayed on the waterfront in the Seward Park. You just can't beat it. Just absolutely gorgeous. Leaving there, we headed up past Cooper Landing, and we're on our way over to Anchor Point. That was a great place. You were able to drive on the beach, all rocky beach, um, and then down to the Homer Spit. We stayed in a campground there, county campground, I believe, or a city campground. Actually, a city campground, right on the waterfront. There's plenty of options there. Everything from high-end resorts to anything you want to do. And naturally, we had to backtrack. We then headed up. We're basically going to we backtracked through Palmer and Wasilla, heading north towards Denali, one of the places you can't miss. We stopped halfway up there, and we took a bunch of side trips. Talkeetna is a beautiful little city. You really got to see that. It's fantastic. It's like a street fair. I mean, we come down this 2-lane road, 20 miles off the highway, hardly a car around. And when we got to the intersection, there were people everywhere. They were walking the streets, hardly any parking places, just fantastic. And a good view of Denali from there too, right down on the river. Yeah, we also went up to Hatcher Pass from this area, which is a beautiful drive. I highly recommend that. 4-wheel drive, high road clearance, definitely advised. We even did a river crossing down here in the 4-wheel drive. We had water up to the hood of the Ram 1500, but we made it. We then moved on to Cantwell, just south of Denali. We had reservations in the park, but we got held up because they had forest fires in the park. So we got there, and the park was actually closed to visitors. So we hung out for a while and did some side trips. Beautiful area, beautiful restaurant there. You gotta go to the restaurant. I'll leave the name when we get into more detail. And finally, we ended up having to bypass Denali and cancel our reservations. We just couldn't waste that much time and not know which way we were going to go back. There were forest fires up north of Fairbanks and around that area, and we were concerned about being able to get back out and having to backtrack all the way down through the south. So on the way out, we did go through Fairbanks and North Pole and Moose Creek and all those neat places. And you got to go to Delta Junction. Can't beat that. And that took us back to Tok again. The road back into Canada from Tok. That is one of the worst stretches of road. We were heading for Destruction Bay. We had a nice campground, provincial campground right on the waterfront there. But that road was absolutely horrendous. A lot of washboard, a lot of gravel sections, hard to make any time at all. Probably the worst road we were on in the whole time. From there, we headed back, stayed at Whitehorse. Whitehorse is an interesting town. It's not what I thought it was going to be. It's more of a normal city like you would see in the lower 48. We stopped at Walmart and all the other normal places there. Watson Lake, you got to see. That's where they have the signpost forest. That's words don't describe that either. It's fantastic. And then we went to the Liard River, camped there in their campground. Stephanie got a chance to go into the hot springs. From Liard River, we came down through Fort Nelson, which the forest fires were all out from previous. That's where we bypassed before. But it was heartbreaking to see all of the burnt timber along that stretch of road. And then down the Bucking Horse River campground. Along in here is I think we hit a deer on the road. And then down to Bear Lake and heading south, heading out. Beautiful area. You'd be surprised at how many fruit stands and orchards and all that there were just before you cross into the States. We stayed on Phantom Lake in the Kamloops area. Actually, that's where we hit the deer. I hit the deer. And then we went south and stayed in Oroville. That's where you cross the border into the States. A nice little city campground right on the lake. Beautiful area. After we crossed back into the States, down through Washington, and we ended up in Spokane, Washington. Nice little campground on the lake there. Got some time to do some side trips and got the truck washed, a few other things. And then we went to Glacier National Park. We stayed outside of the park, but we took several day trips through it and around it. It's just a gorgeous area. It's one of the nicest national parks here. We stayed at a park on Canyons Ferry. That's a neat little park. You drive your camper across the dam. We're right on the water. Stephanie got to do some paddle boarding. I think we changed the tire there. We had issues with one of the tires on the camper. We replaced that tire there. Now one of the highlights, we're heading towards Yellowstone National Park. We spent a long time there, 2 different campgrounds, one inside the park and one outside. A lot of side trips. It's just a gorgeous area. It's huge. Don't sell yourself short on how long it takes to see that. And from there, we got to drive the Beartooth Pass highway. It's supposed to be one of the most beautiful highways in the country, and it was just spectacular and amazing. We then drove down to Idaho Falls, and that's where we had a blowout on the highway, running 70 miles an hour, and man, tire came apart. We were lucky, able to change it there and replace the 2 tires in Idaho Falls. From there, we were heading south to Salt Lake City. Basically just a provision. We stayed at a resort there where they had a mail room, so we ordered a bunch of Amazon stuff that we've been missing out on. It's an amazing area, amazing town. Got some bicycle repair work done there. And then ended down in Moab, Utah. Another gorgeous place. There's just so many parks around there. A beautiful place to visit. We did a lot of 4-wheel driving. And then we went down to the Monument Valley. We camped there, met some friends from Georgia, played some cards, had dinner together. Just really nice couple. Get to drive some 4-wheel drive trails out through the desert, out through the reservations. Leaving there, we're heading south. We went down to Sedona, another beautiful town. All kinds of things to do. 4-wheel drive trails. Yeah, we stayed in a beautiful, can't think of the name of the campground now, but beautiful place. Went down through Phoenix, heading on our way out. Picking up just a quick place here to stay in Bowie. Heading down through El Paso. Stephanie picked up a new phone in El Paso. Her phone had died. Drove across Texas, Fort Stockton, just to stay the night. Down through San Antonio, down to Corpus Christi, and on to Port. I'm not sure how you say it. Port. Yeah, we spent some time at Port Arthur Park, right on the ocean. Beautiful, beautiful area. And then we started heading farther north. We got to drive a lot of the beaches there along Mustang Island, up to Matagorda Bay. Another nice campground. We were just taking our time getting back, as sort of we didn't really want to come back. I mean, it was just we're having such a great time. Ended up outside of Galveston Bay. Nice campground there. I'd been there before, but it was a nice campground, Galveston Island State Park, right on the ocean, right on the bay there, the Gulf of America, as they say. We then came back, heading back east through Lake Charles, Louisiana. We stayed at a little city park there. It was just like 20 campgrounds, but it was paved and had all utilities, and just a neat little place. Through Baton Rouge, back over to, we stayed at a campground right on the Lake Pontchartrain, and the area was flooding. The half of the campground was inaccessible because the water had risen so far. We're really heading back east now through Mobile. Stayed outside of Pensacola. We're fighting the hurricanes. The hurricanes were coming up. Some of the roads along the Gulf were actually water on the roads. They were flooding. Actually had to make a few detours to get out of that. And headed back up through Montgomery and back. We stayed in LaGrange on the Georgia line, West Point Lake. Nice campground. That was our last night out on the road. And the next day we headed back to Atlanta, back to our home base. Again, I'll give you an overview of the whole thing. It took us 20,000 miles, 4.5 months. Had both ends of the truck beat up, the back end hitting the tree, the front end hitting the deer. Spent several days in the shop when we got back, getting it back up to par. Anyway, that's just an overview. I'm going to come back and give you videos of each section and show you some of the views and some of the roads, etc. Thanks for watching the Roaming Souls. This is Fred checking out.